Sweet. So Meg, thanks so much for coming onto the show.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah, all good. So what have you been working on recently? You've had a couple of good things.
A couple of good things.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're referring to Megarun.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't even know where to start. Megarun is something that I didn't even intend to build, I guess. I just started running by myself at the start of the year. And yeah, like people just started asking to come along and join me. And then I realized how many people in the Gold Coast are actually looking for something social to do, but they actually do want to do something that's healthy. It's just that there wasn't an avenue to do that was also social. So people just started coming along, and then I started hustling and, inviting more people and that sort of thing. And then obviously it's just expanded to all these different locations. But yeah, that's what I've been doing mainly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was studying physio at the start of the year, and just decided that it wasn't something I was super passionate about. So switched over to PT, and then more recently have stopped PT fully as well, so that I can go all out with Megaruns, which is super exciting.
Yeah, which was great. And I was blessed to be a part of it Sunday.
Yeah, did you have a good time?
Yeah, get down in Freezer, pressure me, come on, man, come to the Megarun.
Freeze loves it.
Yeah, and it was great. I literally had a great time. It was super fantastic. I think one of the best things about it was in the Gold Coast, because recently moving up, it's the sun rises so early.
Yes.
And it goes down at a normal time throughout the whole year. And myself being a morning person,
yes,
it's one of the best things ever. So instead of heading out or doing something on the weekend, whatever, it's we can do something sick.
Get up early.
Get up really early and do something really fun.
Yeah. My favorite thing at the end of it is it finishes around 8 o'clock, 8:30, and you've had heaps of social, great conversations, and then the day's only just starting. And because now I do it in Brisbane on Saturdays as well, the same thing happens. Start Saturdays early, you don't sleep in, miss half of your day. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it too. What do you mean? Does Adelaide not rise early?
So Adelaide has 2 times throughout the year, because we have what's it called? Daylight savings.
Yeah.
So in summer, the sun goes down at 9 p.m. And
really?
Yeah, and it gets up at 6:30.
Okay.
7. And then in the winter, it goes down at 5:30 and it's up at 7.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, it's real weird. So in winter, it's all
Yeah, that's
and then
crazy.
in summer, you're this is great. So I'll head back to Adelaide in the summer.
Oh, really?
I'll say, just to visit people.
Yeah.
But in the winter, if someone's come to Adelaide, I'll be no.
Yeah, I feel most people, once they come to Gold Coast, they don't really move anywhere else.
Yeah, so true. So how many mega runs have you got going on at the moment?
At the moment we have 13.
Holy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How do you manage all that?
Well, I think the most important thing is just making sure you have the right, I call them hype lords,
nice.
But the right people obviously hosting them. That's definitely the core of Megarun. Yeah, so there's 13 locations. I'll see if I can remember them all off the top of my head. There's Brisbane, that's the only one that's on Saturdays, and then the rest are on Sundays. There's Gold Coast, Brighton, Sunshine Coast, Townsville, Tasmania, Melbourne, Coogee, Manly's opening up soon. Newcastle is opening soon. I can't even remember all the ones that I've said. Cairns, Perth, Tasmania. I don't know if I said that.
Tassie.
I said Tassie. There's 2 more then. Yeah. I can't even remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, 13's a lot to remember.
There's a lot of locations.
Yeah.
And then there's probably about 2 to 3 hype lords per location as well.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's really good, and it makes it a whole lot more fun when there's more than one person there to host it with you.
Mm. So for everyone who's listening who doesn't know what the Mega Run is, what is it?
Yeah, I probably should have started with that.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
Okay, so the Mega Run is a weekend run community. We run a maximum of 10Ks, but you can come and run whatever distance you like. And basically the sole purpose behind it is to show people that through discipline, they will build the confidence that they're capable of more. So I guess I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. But discipline meaning Well, for me personally, I used to be quite shy and not very confident, and I've realized through training that it can actually teach you that confidence. Like if you are just basing your confidence on how you look, then yeah, there's always going to be someone that is, you know, more beautiful, has a better figure, whatever it is, than you. However, if you are confident in what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you can show yourself that you're capable of more than what you thought, then that's where a lot of my confidence came from. So it's sort of like shifting from like the focus on aesthetics to ability. And that's why I'm confident in who I am now. And that's pretty much the idea behind it. I started running by myself at the start of the year to focus on that discipline, because I believe it's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of procrastination and just putting things off. But when I decided to do the run on Sunday, I just said, okay, every Sunday I'm running a 10K, rain, hail or shine, 6 a.m, sick, no excuses, like doesn't matter how I feel. So I did that at the start of the year from January. And when I started doing that, I realized that I was a whole lot more productive in the rest of my week as well. And then obviously that's why people started asking to come along. And also because on the weekends, I don't drink alcohol, or I very rarely drink. So I found when I moved, because I moved from Redlands to the Gold Coast to study physio, that there was a whole lot of people, you know, everyone wants to go out on the weekend, which is totally fine, but not particularly my scene. And everyone would ask me every weekend to come out, and I just didn't have a good enough reason not to. I still wouldn't go, but they'd pester you a lot. But if you just say to them, I have a run on Sunday, then they just leave you alone. So it was perfect.
Great excuse,
yeah. So then, I started doing the runs, and then this is what happens to my brain. I get too excited and I get carried away. But we were talking about the concept of Megarun, I guess. So the discipline comes from obviously showing up every week, no matter how you feel, and then also pushing yourself through the run. So I think a lot of people who wouldn't consider themselves runners don't realize necessarily that, you know, you don't have to be a runner to run. And once you get that hooked on that runner's high, then you almost end up a runner anyway. Well, you would know, because there is such thing as a runner's high. It's just that really incredible feeling that you get knowing that you've achieved something. So what we do to encourage people at Megarun is, when they feel like they need to stop, so say they've only ever run 2Ks before, they come and run, you know, they get halfway in and they push themselves that extra 500 meters before they turn around, and then they end up doing 3Ks. Then they realize that, because everyone gets that head noise in their head that tells them to stop or slow down or, you know, not go as far as you could. And then it's about realizing, and it was actually David Goggins reading his book that sort of brought that concept to light in my head. When you get that head noise, it tells you to stop, you're only 40% done. So that for me just changed my whole mindset. I thought that when your mind tells you to stop, that's when you should stop, because obviously you got to protect your body. But that is just not the case at all. And I think like realizing that your mind is going into survival mode, but that there's no growth where you're comfortable, is definitely the whole concept behind the Megarun. So just showing people, regular people, that showing up to a run club every week, no matter how you feel, is actually going to develop that discipline. Like, it's a practical way of building discipline and also pushing yourself through the run. And then the confidence part of things isn't confidence, like we look good, whatever, like that just comes as a result of getting active and being around good people. But the confidence is more about seeing that you actually can do more than what you thought. And hopefully through coming to the runs and realizing and running that they're capable of more, that in the rest of their life, they'll realize that as well. And I'm only just talking from my personal experience, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. But I've certainly seen, running has given me the confidence to do things that I never thought I could. And then seeing people come to these runs, one, push themselves and then realize they can do more, but two, get around, like everyone that goes to the run, because it's like 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, it's only the go-getters. It's only the people that really want to get up and have a crack. So everyone is so supportive of each other and wants to see everyone, push their boundaries and achieve their goals. And that's why it's so good, because, you know, you're a product of your environment, of who you're around, and seeing these people meet through this group and then go and be friends outside of the run as well. I'm getting goosebumps just talking. so passionate about it. But I think that's why it's eliciting so much change in people's actual lives. Like, so many people that I know have decided that they're going to go and pursue different careers that they're actually passionate about, because they realize that they can, that it is actually attainable. You just got to, geez, you're really getting me going. you just got to, if your perceived limits is what limits you, like, there is no actual limits really, or very few. So I think even seeing me just do what I'm passionate about through mega runs, it's given them confidence to be like, yeah, actually maybe we can do it too. But yeah, that's the concept behind the run. So, it says it here, you are capable of more. And I know there's been plenty of times when, you know, you've gotten deep in the hurt locker, and I always read that, and it reminds me that I actually am capable of more.
Yeah, I love it. Train your body, train your mind, train your intentions.
Yeah.
That's what I think that you're really doing in there, is helping people train their intentions. And then it sort of comes back as like an anchor that people can use to really better themselves. And it's like a perfect excuse to get out there, because it's like, you've made it cool. Like, it's so cool. Like, the whole event and everyone there is just like so cool.
Yeah.
Like, so it's so fun. So for you, what do you think are like some of the biggest hurdles or things that you've sort of overcome that you think the discipline from the mega runs has like helped you with?
In my personal life or
personal life, fitness, because you do some crazy fitness chat. We'll go into those afterwards about you and your fitness accolades, but I'll say personally for now, and then we'll talk about some of your fitness stuff, because for everyone listening, it's quite impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Look at this tiny body. Can do all this,
he had to lower the camera down because I'm so small.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me personally, growing up, I was quite academic. So I think my focus was always in my head. And I know there are so many different paths in life, but in my head, I thought, you know, you go to school, you graduate, you do uni, you get a consistent job, you have a family, married, blah, blah, blah. And you just choose a safe option. And I think I always had this little itch inside me that knew that I was capable of doing more and actually helping people, just because for me, fitness had changed my life so drastically. Like, my mum reckons I just woke up one day and I was just a different person.
I'm going to be fit.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even that. It wasn't the fitness. It was more my headspace, like going from negative and shy and like having a bit of a chip on my shoulder, which I had absolutely no reason to have, because I was so lucky in the life that I was given. Like, my family's incredible, got a great education. Like, I was very, very lucky. But I just had this weird chip on my shoulder. And then I woke up. I just remember I had the realization that blame, whilst it makes you feel good in the moment, the only person that misses out is you. And also being shy, you're going to miss out as well, because if you don't go and ask for something, you're definitely not going to get it. So that was my realization. And that's when I sort of woke up to myself. And then the discipline part, I guess, once I realized that I was kind of afraid of a lot of things, I just started doing everything that scared me. So anything. The first thing I did was go and get a job at F45, because that was my biggest fear, is talking in front of people. That would be horrendous. And now I do it every week and I love it. But I just realized that practically you can actually change yourself. Not for a bad thing, but you can actually make change through following steps, which pretty much is just do whatever makes you feel uncomfortable, do it a lot, and then eventually it won't. That's what I think is the best thing to do. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
No, that was really good.
Yeah.
So what are some things that, in terms of, you think that, you know, running 10K every single week has like helped you with, like, physically, and some of the physical stuff that you've done?
Okay, well, the reason why I wanted to do the 10Ks every week was because I did a marathon in 2019 off no training. Actually, I'd been listening to David Goggins.
So many people doing the Goggins.
I know he's. I mean, and that's so like testament to how incredible his mindset is, and obviously that it works, because so many people, I love how in his book he says, now I'm not saying go and do 100 miles of no training. I know, he's like,
everyone does it.
Yeah, I know, everyone goes and does
tries to, but you actually finish it.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I did a marathon, so I can't claim 100 mile or whatever he did.
You finished a marathon, Jesus.
Yeah. But I just realized running a marathon is discipline in a day. So like you go and do 4 hours of really hard work and then it's done, which is great. And you definitely go to a different place in your head. But the long-term discipline, I honestly think, is what a lot of people struggle with, because a lot of people can go, yep, I want to make change. But then the next week they've forgotten. It's like that happiness versus fulfillment thing. Like the happiness is those little sparks of dopamine that everyone chases, like go out on the weekend, spike. Then you have a bad week because you go down, what's the word? You plummet, whatever it is. And then whereas if you're chasing something that is going to fulfill your purpose on the inside, even if you have a challenge come up, you know exactly why you're doing it. So you push through. But I think a lot of people are just so caught up in that cycle of up and down that, you know, they're not able to even commit to those long-term goals. So I think Megarun, doing the runs every week and committing to showing up every week, holds them accountable to that. And then you have all these people every week that are saying, oh, like what progress did you make since the last week towards that goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year? Like we do that a lot at Megarun too. We'll say, when you're doing your leg swings in your warm up, go and tell someone what your goal is for the end of the year, because we've only got 2 months left and you don't want to get to the end and set those next New Year's resolutions that you set last year. And like, you know, so it's, for me, the 10Ks every week has more taught me to not put things off. Like if you want to do something, just get it done straight away. And that's also a confidence thing as well. When you start to build up on those little things and not do them, that's what will ruin your confidence as well. So making sure that, you know, if even little things like you eat something, you put the dish in the sink, don't do that. Just wash it straight away, put it in, get out of the habit of putting things off, and don't let your mind negotiate with you. So I'd say that's probably the main thing that the 10Ks every week has done. And then obviously when you're pushing yourself in the run, it's like working your brain. Your brain is a muscle. So practicing pushing it every week. And that's not to say that every week you're going to get a PB or anything like that, because there will be some weeks that you'll show up and just feel absolutely shocking. But I always say on the weeks that you show up and you're not feeling great, just push yourself through it. And then on the weeks that you're feeling really good, go hard. And I think that's the best way to look at it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And then you do a Noosa triathlon and run a 3:47 average.
No, I didn't do that average. I did like a 4:03 average. But I started on 3:47. I just got so excited. It just I didn't even know what was happening. I honestly thought my watch was broken. I mean, that's probably what my sole purpose is. I think there's two. Man, I'm getting too excited.
Keep going.
Okay, I feel like the Megarun's purpose is to show people that through discipline they can build the confidence that they're capable of more. But then my individual purpose, I mean, I'm looking at what's Find Your Why over there, or you've got Start Your Why. Start with Why, but that is pretty much why the whole Megarun started, because I realized that concept that if you're building something with a strong purpose, then it's going to change lives. And obviously that's how it's naturally grown. Now I've gone off track again. But my individual purpose, I believe, is to do things that seem impossible so that other people will realize that more is possible. So when I look at someone like David Goggins, who is obviously an inspiration to many, but an inspiration to me for sure, he has done things that people would never think are possible, so that like they know more is possible. And so definitely not on the scale of David Goggins, but that is something that I would like to do. So going and doing a marathon on no training, or going and doing a triathlon on no training, you know, a lot of people would just write that off so easily and be like, that's not possible. The amount of people that said you cannot do that, it's just, I'm like, well, maybe you can't do it, or you don't think you can. They definitely can, but they don't think they can. That doesn't mean that you can't. And that changes a lot of things in your life in general. When I go and ask I don't ask many people for advice in terms of what I can do now, because whatever they're going to tell you is what they think they can do, not necessarily what you can do. So yeah, going and doing the spontaneous triathlon was really great. I just love the Hurt Locker. Like surely you would know. You're telling me you do these 3-hour leg sessions or whatever. The Hurt Locker
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Hurt Locker is the start of growth. It's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It just, and actually I got a message on Instagram the other day saying, what is this Hurt Locker that everyone is talking about? And I'm like, you know what? Run until you want to stop and then keep running. And then that's the Hurt Locker.
Yeah, and then when you feel like stopping again, keep going.
Yeah.
Jump an ice bath for 20 minutes.
Yes,
That'll get you there as well.
20 minutes, you reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon I'd be in the Hurt Locker in about 1.
I've done one 20-minute one.
A 20-minute ice bath?
We went for mild hypothermia and it was pretty hectic.
Oh my gosh. Where does your head go when you're doing that?
It's kind of like fine the whole time. Like you think it's like not too bad. You're just like, oh yeah, I can like stand here like you hurt a little bit. But then it's sort of like as soon as you get out, and like all your blood is cold and it's trying to pump around your body, you just feel real weird because you're like, oh, my blood's cold right now.
Really?
And you're moving, and usually after you get out of an ice bath, you feel a little bit like, ooh, I'm like a little bit cold now. I can feel myself start to warm up.
Yeah.
But when you get out after 20 minutes, you're like,
I'm not getting warm.
When the fuck am I going to start to warm up?
You should be doing some squats and push-ups.
I'll do them after.
Yeah,
I swore I'll do them after you.
That's my newest endeavor. I just love challenges.
Yeah.
So that's another really cool, that's another thing that I'm doing at the moment that I didn't intend on doing. Do you mind me talking about that?
Please.
Well, it's called Break the Habit Challenge. So I'm just going to call it #BTH challenge. But pretty much, obviously, most habits take 21 days to break. So that's why we've made it 21 days. But I just realized that I got in the habit of swearing. Mm-hmm. And I don't really swear a lot, but when you're around people that every second word is a swear word, it's very easy to get into the habit of doing it. And so I just wanted to challenge myself and make myself more conscious of what I'm saying. Because that's another thing too. People aren't conscious in what they're doing. They're not present in whatever it is. And when you actually start thinking about what you're saying and what you're doing, then you're like, oh, okay, I'm actually doing a lot of things I didn't realize I was doing. But anyway, so the challenge is every time I swear, I have to do 20 push-ups and 20 squats wherever I am. And if I really don't want to do it, then I can bank one. So the person that I'm doing it with, that I've challenged to do it with me, I can bank it. But then that means that person can call it out at any time. So the other night I was in a restaurant, like a really posh restaurant. Yeah. And he went and told one of the staff, and the staff came up to me and said, have you been swearing? I said, no, I haven't sworn, but I forgot that I had one in the bank. So then I had to do 20 push-ups and 20 squats in front of the whole restaurant. It was so embarrassing.
Oh, God.
But it's definitely teaching me not to swear. So fingers crossed I'll get through the podcast without any swearing. But it works for anything. Like you can do it for, some people were doing it for eating chocolate or drinking coffee or anything simple. I should probably do it for because I say a lot. That'll be the next one.
I'm with you on that.
But I can't communicate if I think about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's really cool. What do you think your habit would be?
Really good question. I'd honestly say swearing as well, because I've been intentionally trying to work on it.
Okay, well.
But then as soon as you start getting in a good flow, you're like, oh God.
You just gotta start saying golly. That's what I said.
Yeah, true.
I'm gonna start golly.
#golly.
Yeah.
A question I was thinking of is, how important do you think having like a basis of health and fitness is, like as a foundation? Because as you were talking, like for you to spontaneously be like, I love that mindset as well.
Yeah.
Just because someone says that they can't go and spontaneously do a marathon doesn't mean you can't, especially if you know you've got the ability to do so. And because of the runs that you've been doing for the past year, and your gymnastics background and gym training background and everything like that, obviously you've got a good foundation. You're training really hard, doing gymnastics, you're moving your body, you're running all the time, you're doing all these things. So when something comes up like a challenge, like a triathlon or something, you can run in and jump in. As well, with all of that foundation, you're talking about the confidence and discipline that obviously it comes with through having that. So for people in general who are just like, who I'd say haven't got the basis of, like a health and fitness foundation, what do you think has been like the most important things for you to actually have that foundation down? How important do you think it is to have one?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, when people come to Megarun, we have people who have never run before, or they've run 500 meters. And the distance is 10Ks because I believe I can get anyone through a 10K, whether they're fit, run before, never run before, I'll get them through the 10K. They just might not have a very good time, but afterwards they'll feel great. Just the next day, maybe not so much. But 10Ks, I believe, is a distance that anyone can get through. A marathon, I genuinely believe anyone could. Obviously walking and running and whatever, I definitely believe anyone could. It just wouldn't be enjoyable. I believe personally anyone could do it even if they don't have a fitness background. It will just take them a long time. But definitely building that up helps a lot. And in terms of competitively being able, I mean, I did a spontaneous marathon in July, I think, and I actually didn't expect to do that, and I think it was because I was doing the back-to-back 10Ks all throughout the year, because I don't run during the week, but doing the back-to-back 10s definitely helped me build up that so that I could actually go relatively fast for the marathon. I would say anyone can do it. But if you want to do it well, then obviously training is more important. But it's more the mindset. Like, running is so mindset based. And for example, I took 3 months off before the marathon in 2019. Absolutely no training, like nothing. I wasn't running. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't even walking because I was trying to fix an injury that I had. And so, I mean, the only thing that I did was work my mind and really find out. This is exactly what I believe. I believe if you know your why, you can do almost anyhow. So if you are going to set out and run a marathon to find yourself and figure out what you're capable of, if that means enough to you, you're going to get it done regardless of how fit you are or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, David Goggins is a perfect example. He went and ran 100Ks off absolutely no training, and he would be double, if not triple my size when he did it. So
he's way bigger than that, I think.
Yeah,
I think when
it's
he did
huge.
That,
but
he was a fatty.
he had no fitness. I mean, technically he did have a background of exercise, but he was still able to do it. So yeah, I think when people blame it on that, it's often because they're trying to sell themselves that.
Yeah.
When really they have that itch inside that they know they can do it. They just don't want to whip out a marathon all the day.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really respect about you. And it is just that hurt locker message again.
Yeah.
Just like your willingness to be like open to do things that like really do suck. Because I have like the same sort of mindset. Like I always just take the path of most resistance is what I call it, because the path of most resistance is where you're always going to have the most growth. And you like embody that. So like, thank you for doing that and showing people, because it's like a really cool message in there. So for people who, just like in your own experience, for stuff that you've experienced, people who want to be better, people who like really want to start like investing in this. Let's just say someone's in that point of their life where they're like, oh man, like I've done some stuff, had some success in that point of life or whatever. They're just cruising. Yeah. And they really want to start to work and invest in themselves. It may not necessarily be running, but you may be like, just come to a Megarun. Yeah. But like, what are some of the things that you've done specifically that you think are really important for people to invest in themselves?
I mean, definitely Megarun. I think the first thing to change is making sure that you're around people who are going to help you change and back you when you're changing. Because the thing is, and I've learned this the hard way, and I know a lot of people who are in a similar mindset to where I am now too, that when you decide to change, if people around you are not in that same headspace, it almost makes them feel guilty for not changing, and then it won't necessarily be received in the way that you would like it to be. So making sure that you're around people who are actually going to be excited for you to change. It sounds really simple, but change is uncomfortable, and a lot of people in life, especially now, I believe, aren't doing things that they love. So if they're not doing things that they love, it's almost like they're going to get, it's going to make them uncomfortable that you're ready to change to do things that you love, because they want to do that. It's just they might not be ready to do that, which is why I say Megarun is good, because the people there are at least ready to change and ready to have a crack and will support you in doing the same. But I'd say that is probably the most important thing. And then Another good thing that really helped me is reading. I think if you can learn from, I've read a good book. I don't know if you've read Skip the Line.
No, I haven't. But
it's the concept behind, in order to master anything, you're supposed to do the 10,000 hours of work. So there is obviously ways to skip that 10,000 hours and progress faster to become a master of that. So reading, just feel your environment is directly going to make you who you are. So change who you're around, start investing in what you're looking at. Like if you're just sitting, even simple things like Instagram is obviously a great tool, but if you're opening your Instagram every day and just seeing things that, I don't know, even simple things, like if you open it and there's clothes shopping on it all the time, eventually you're going to buy something. It's like if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut eventually. So for me, I regularly go through my Instagram and, check in with myself to see who I want to be following. And I'll ask myself every time I look at something, is this person someone that is going to motivate or inspire me? And if it's not, it normally results in an unfollow, which can be uncomfortable sometimes, but it's just, I don't want to open my Instagram and think, have that impact me. So anything in your life, start to assess every little thing, even the smallest things. Look at the conversations that you're having in the day. Are they productive conversations, or are they conversations about people and this and that? Like my conversations have changed so much over the time. And you get so much more time as well because you realize so many of them are not productive. I just went on a tangent.
No, that was great. It's like super self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I like calling it like social media purging. Same way you clean your room, same way you clean stuff or throw out old clothes or whatever it is, you need to go through Instagram and have like a big old purge every now and then. For sure, I really rate that. And I think that I come to the same sort of conclusion as I like sort of treat my phone as like another person because we can spend so much time on there, especially like podcasting and hi everybody and like Instagram and everything like that. Like I'm on it all the time because a lot of my work goes to in that. So like you got to spend that. So in terms of you're saying like surround yourself with people that like you want to be like or whatever, I sort of treat my phone like another person. And that's what I try to do. I think of it like this is really like another person because I'm with it so much. And I feel like we're almost cyborgs with it. All the time. We're almost cyborgs. Like literally, we just have like a phone in our hand all the time. It's so like almost around us. So it's like, oh, Jesus. So, and obviously because it's so new, there hasn't been like any courses or any like social media health, just how to deal with all of it and what we should be doing in terms of mental techniques. So I love that you shared with that. I love that you shared the reading, and then I love that you shared with the Megarun as well because that like works really well. The
only other thing I would say is anytime I've done something, I think the most important thing is understanding, because if people don't understand why they're doing something, they're never going to do it. I mean, particularly me. If you tell me to do something and I don't understand why, I probably won't do it. But it's like nutrition. If you don't understand why you're eating something over eating a McDonald's hamburger, then you probably won't do that. But if you understood that, when you eat McDonald's, it's actually, even if you look good, it's still ruining your insides or whatever it is. Sorry, McDonald's.
McDonald's ruins the insides? What?
Sorry,
I'm so new to this.
Hope you don't get sued. But whereas if you eat, I don't know, something so simple like a salad and it's full of nutrients and that's going to make your insides better, and then you feel better on the outside, your skin's going to be better, like those sort of things. Unless people have understanding around why they're doing things, then chances are they won't do it. So that's one of the main reasons at Megarun every week I get up and do a speech to try and explain to everyone this isn't just a run club. It's not just we come here to run. That's probably the smallest part of it. The run teaches you the discipline. But it's mainly the mindset growth and obviously the people that you're around. And also it gets people off their phones. I mean, apart from making content, people have these real conversations. I don't know if you have gone to Woolworths and you say, everyone has those typical conversations like, hey, how are you? Yeah, good. Oh, yeah, how are you? Good. Like, what is that conversation?
Yeah, I worked in an office for a couple of years.
That's the start conversation for everyone. But why did we do that?
Raining outside.
I know.
It's hot out there.
But that is just so pointless. I actually started doing this thing where I asked people, because I became consciousness. We're talking about it, but that is the sole purpose of change, is realizing that you're doing it first. But I started asking people, instead of saying, hey, how are you? And them saying good, I say, hey, what was the highlight of your day today? Or, hey, what was the highlight of your weekend? And then they'll go, oh, nothing, I didn't really do anything, because people aren't used to having meaningful questions asked. That's another thing. Ask meaningful questions if you want meaningful answers.
Oh.
Which you're very good at, obviously, doing your podcast. But then if you really push them and you say, hey, no, like, what was your highlight? Then they'll often come back with something really incredible. Like, I went and saw my daughter for lunch and she took me out and she's starting to read books or something. I don't know, something incredible that is so much more meaningful. Then you leave feeling better, they leave feeling better, and then maybe they will also proceed to ask more meaningful questions as well. I don't know where that came from.
No, I love that. That was really good, quite fantastic. And it's sort of got like my mind ticking over with a few things there. I really like the whole point of consciousness, because like I research a lot on like consciousness and where it actually comes from and actually becoming like more conscious. Okay. So I think that's like really good that you're sort of sharing that message, and it's very easy to see that like the Megarun is used. It's like, I love it how it's like a positive excuse and an anchor in order to like really people have the community. So yeah, as you've mentioned it 100 times before, it's like showing up, getting there, and then everyone's sort of challenged to be better, held accountable. And that's not even just to celebrate the wins as well, because the community is so encouraging and like empathetic in terms of empathetic and empathy, meaning like understanding other one's feelings. So when someone's winning, you're like, yeah, I'll celebrate the wins of you. And other people are like, oh, I didn't do well today. Yeah. I didn't have a good run today. That's okay. We'll go next time. Or my highlight of this week was I didn't have one. It was shit. I was like, all right, let's go for next week. We'll run as best as we can and let's supercharge. So like, I love that community there.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And just that they know that even if they don't have a good run, they still showed up. Like, you watch people when they say, oh, I didn't get a PB or whatever. People are like, but you're here. That's sick. You're doing better than the people who aren't.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Yeah, I'm excited to come out like this weekend as well.
Yeah, you're going to come back?
Yeah, you've got me.
Oh, you're hooked. See, I mean, even when people are injured now, they just come and walk because they don't want to miss out on the community, which I guess is testament to the people that go. Yeah.
I'd really love to hear a story, or like tell us about a time when you've been on one of the mega runs, because you've had heaps. Yes. And someone's had to overcome something, or someone's been really struggled, and everyone's either helped get around them and help them get through, or something like that, because I know there'd probably be some stories like that around. So I'd love for you if you could tell us a time.
Oh, okay.
If you can think about a particular person.
Definitely.
You can? One that was like, one that kind of really hit you in the feels.
Yeah, I almost started crying.
All right.
Oh, it's going to get me emotional
tell
now.
Me.
Well, there's obviously at Megarun, the reason everyone always asks me, like, how do you turn up every weekend consistently both days and do the runs? And I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. But seeing the change that it has in people's lives, even when they run their 10Ks for the first time, so many people have just broken down. I like to call it the mega feeling, but it's I know. I got to tag that one.
Love it.
But it is it's this mega feeling like you've achieved something incredible. So for a lot of people, just seeing that is really cool. But there is one guy in particular who, I'm not going to say his name, obviously, because
Person A,
yes. He so he started coming to Megarun probably about a month ago, and he actually has multiple sclerosis. Yeah, so I believe I used to do the MS readathons way back when I was a kid, but I know that it definitely affects your muscles and your movement and that sort of thing. And he has been showing up for the past month to do 10Ks every single weekend. Oh, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. And he takes a longer time to do the runs. And often, people will probably take it's a big range in the time that it takes, but sometimes he takes probably about 10 minutes later than the last person, which is totally fine. Everyone's welcome. But sometimes we get the group photo before he finishes, and he's totally fine with that. But one of his goals was to get back for the group photo. And it was the weekend that I was at the triathlon, and I had two of the Hype Lords in Brisbane host the Megarun for me, and he went for his 10Ks and he everyone waited for him to finish that extra 10 minutes. Because obviously some people are going to work and got things to do. But this week, everyone waited for him to finish and clapped him in, and he went and got that photo. And when I went back the following week, he was just so stoked that he did it. And I think that is, like, if you cannot have an excuse when someone with MS is showing up and having a crack. Like, when I think about me in the morning, it's very rare that I don't feel like going to a Megarun. And as soon as I get there and I do it, I'm like, oh, I love this. But if some days I might be really tired or something and I'll wake up to go, if I even think about that for 2 seconds, I'm like, even the Move for Lex campaign, like, move for people who can't. Like, every day I wake up so grateful for movement, and I just want to see what my body's capable of. So, that's a huge inspiration to me. And there are so many other stories like that too. There's people who have just gotten out of jail and are trying to change their lives. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter where they've been, what they've got, whatever. If they're there having a crack, that is all it's about.
They're trying to be better. I'd like to add on to that story. I have a close physio friend of mine, Dylan Claridge. Shout out, Dill. I remember one day I just didn't want to go to the gym. Yeah. And I was training for something. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, bro, hype me up because I'm struggling to get to the gym today. And he was like, mate, he's like works in brain rehab. Yeah. So like he works with some people that are like, have some significant like stuff going on. And he was like, mate, I work with people who would kill to have the chance to go to the gym and train, and you have that ability to go today. He's like, get off your ass and get to the damn gym.
Far out.
And I was like,
that's enough to do it. Hey.
Oh yeah. So like, it's a great message, and I sort of love that, and it's a great excuse, and you're sharing all this positive stuff. So big thank you.
Yeah. Oh well, it's him. He's motivating, and I hope one day that he feels comfortable enough to share it with the rest of the group, because when he shared that with me, I was just gobsmacked.
Yeah, especially multiple sclerosis. That's like intense.
Yeah,
that's like really hard.
Really inspirational.
Yeah, we have like no excuse.
Yeah, we really don't.
We got no excuse.
We got to get there running.
Yeah, so true.
I will see you this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, Meg, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and like just being a bright, radiant light for everyone to like, follow. It's sort of like, I really appreciate like the leadership, and I really appreciate you sort of being like an inspiration, because people who have worked on themselves and do have pushed themselves and put themselves into a position like you gives other people, right, a position for them to readjust their own standards, for what they're capable of, so that they can be their own authentic, genuine self. And like you're being like a really good excuse for them to like bounce themselves off of, and making people sort of like change their trajectory just a little bit. And, over a long period of time, if you change a long distance, if you change your directory just a little bit, you can be somewhere completely different to where you're going. So like big thanks for that. I think it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to like let everyone know where they can find you and follow the Megarun and all that stuff, please do.
Okay. Well, obviously, thank you so much for having me, and it's great that that's come across, because all I want is for people to realize that they can actually do whatever makes them feel alive, and there is no limits. Actually, if you don't mind, I might share one more thing before I get off.
Oh, you share as much as you like.
Well, I forgot to tell you this, but
tell me.
When I was in school, I used to do gymnastics. I was a gymnast from when I was 3 until 10. And then after that, I started sports aerobics. And when I started sports aerobics, it's not very well known in Australia, but it's quite large in Europe. When I started, I was in the bottom team in the back row. In fact, the girl in the front row did a high leg kick and fell on her bum. That's how bad our team was. So I was
school aerobics, by the way?
Well, it is school aerobics.
Was that the foundation?
Yes.
I competed in that as well.
You did school aerobics?
Not for school aerobics. For dance. I didn't do aerobics. Oh God, never did an aerobics class.
I gotta find that leotard photo.
Never did an aerobics class.
Hey, it's a sick sport.
It's crazy. I remember seeing some of the dudes that did, and
they're incredible.
Because we'd do like hip hop dancing stuff, and me and the other guys would be like, "Ooh, because we do hip hop dancing." I remember we seeing the other dudes that did aerobics, and then we'd be like, "Boy, those guys are pretty hectic, hey?" Doing some pretty gnarly stuff on stage.
They're really incredible. They're so incredible, because it's a sport that requires so many different things. Like, you have to be flexible, strong, fit, smile while you're doing it. Everyone always asks why I smile while I'm in pain, and I'm like, that's why. I'm like,
it's conditioned.
But the reason why I'm sharing this story is because I started way back at the bottom, and after 6 years, I ended up winning worlds. And yeah, I know, I was pretty stoked.
Fight for that.
But the reason why I share it is not because I'm like, yeah, I won worlds. It's more because like when I won worlds, so many people said to me, oh, like Meg's so naturally talented at aerobics. She's so like, it's the talent is there, blah, blah. I'm like, I was literally so bad, but it just, that hard work consistently over 6 years. I think if you continuously knock on that door, you keep having a crack, eventually it's going to open and eventually you're going to get to the top. So I always like to share that story just so that people realize if you really want something bad enough, you'll find a way to make it work. As for Megarun, you can find the Megarun on Instagram at the Megarun, and we've just actually changed the website, so it's themegarun.com. There you go.
Love it. So good. And I was just thinking, I wanted to add on to a little thing that you were saying just beforehand.
Get it?
Yeah,
aerobics.
Yeah, aerobics. There was something there. Nah,
just take your time.
Damn it, I forgot.
You can edit it out.
No, that was a good little important message I was going to share there, but it's good enough to say for next time. I might put it in the show notes.
Okay.
This is what I was thinking. So yeah, huge thanks for coming on. If you'd like to share anything else with people who are listening, like please do. And yeah.
I think I'm good, or else you're going to have me here all day. But thank you so much for having me too. And I hope that this encourages some people to either hit Megarun or start making change in their life themselves, because I really believe that they can.
I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
I remember what I was going to say. So what I was going to say is really cool is, what you're doing, how you always share the message of, this is sort of like the little mindset tool of pushing yourself a little bit further every time, is you're delaying immediate gratification. And as we we're talking about our phones before, like I think it's so important to have that conversation in like all types of conversations, just because it's such an important thing, because we're with it all the time. And it's sort of like we don't talk about social media health enough. And one of the things that comes from that, read a few books on it, is the more we're on our phones and just the way the world is at the moment is we get gratification immediately. We don't have to try hard and we get rewarded. You can enter a competition and you get rewarded immediately. I've done a whole bunch of like research on this, and essentially the longer you can delay gratification, the better that you're going to be at being disciplined and sticking to something, which what you guys do perfectly. If someone does a 5K run and then they do a 5.5K run, and then over a long period of time, if they keep delaying their gratification and sticking it out, like example would be doing a food fast, like a 24-hour fast, and then you're coming, like you eat dinner that night. Oh, it's the best tasting thing ever.
Tastes so good.
Tastes so good. You do a 2-day fast, it's gonna taste even better the next day. Same thing. You do a 5K run, oh, you get runner's high. You do a 10K run, you can have the best high ever afterwards. Right? So thanks for sharing that. I just wanted to put that on there. And
that's a really, really good point. And it's also why I think people, when they're, for example, they go into jobs, they get a salary, they just are focusing on that short term. It's
so short term, every week, every month.
Whereas if you sacrifice some of the short term for doing something that you're passionate about, which for me, I believe you can back yourself. That's something that I think is the best thing to do. Like, back yourself. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you can. But sometimes all it takes is one person telling that you can. And I know for me, it only took one person to tell me, you know what, you don't have to do physio. You can do what you're actually passionate about and just make it work. And that gave me the confidence to pursue what I was passionate about. So for those listening, I would like to tell them that I genuinely believe that if they're passionate about it, they can do it. And just to have a crack. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You fail, as some would say, but you learn so much more from your failures than your successes anyway. So I would say that's a gain anyway. I got so excited.
Hell yeah.
Okay, we got to stop talking.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thank you.